The Great Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with the usual boring talk of trade routes and mining rights. Representatives from dozens of worlds sat in their floating seats, half listening to Ambassador Carrick's drone on about shipping taxes. The massive chamber could hold thousands, its crystal dome showing the stars beyond. Most delegates were checking their personal devices or whispering to their assistants. Then the emergency alarm shattered the peaceful atmosphere. Red lights flashed throughout the hall as the central hologram flickered to life. The shipping report vanished, replaced by a desperate face covered in blue scales. The being's large eyes were wide with terror, and behind him, sparks flew from damaged equipment. "This is Captain Zelos of the research vessel Deep Explorer," the alien gasped, his voice crackling through damaged communication equipment. "We are trapped in the void sector. Ancient defense systems have activated. Our shields are failing. 12 crew members from different worlds are aboard. We need immediate help." The image shook as something hit their ship. Warning sounds blared in the background. "The energy field is getting stronger. Our hull is cracking. Please, anyone who receives this message, we are coordinate 77 Alpha in the void sector. We have maybe one day before." The transmission cut off into static. Silence filled the great hall. Then chaos erupted. Delegates jumped to their feet, shouting questions and demands. The peaceful morning session had become a crisis that threatened citizens from 12 different worlds. Ambassador Tylex of the Altarian Federation moved quickly to the central platform. Her tall, graceful form commanded attention as she raised her forearms for silence. Her skin, normally a calm blue, had shifted to the deep purple that showed serious concern. "Emergency protocols are now active," she announced, her voice carrying easily through the hall. "All available information about the Deep Explorer is being displayed now." The hologram changed to show technical data. The research ship was small but well-equipped, designed for studying ancient ruins on dead worlds. It carried scientists, not soldiers. The crew list showed beings from across the galaxy. Thylex recognized several species that rarely work together. "Where exactly is the void sector?" demanded Counselor Veshai, his crystal body flashing angry red lights. "And what are these ancient defense systems?" The display shifted to show a map of local space. The void sector appeared as a dark region filled with swirling danger symbols. Warning text in a dozen languages covered the area. Fleet Admiral Korath stepped forward, his mechanical parts whirring softly. Half his body had been replaced with advanced technology after a mining accident decades ago. His computer brain could process tactical information faster than most species could think. "The void sector is extremely dangerous," Korath explained, his artificial voice flat and emotionless. "Gravitational fields shift without warning. Space itself is twisted in ways we do not understand. Most ships that enter never return." He paused, processing more data from his internal computers. "The ancient defense systems Captain Zelos mentioned are probably automated weapons left behind by the Forerunners. They built them millions of years ago to protect something important. We do not know what. Can we mount a rescue?" asked Ambassador Thylex. Korath's mechanical eye glowed brighter as he ran calculations. "I am analyzing our fleet positions now." Numbers and ship locations flashed across his visual display. "Our nearest battle group is 3 days away at maximum speed. Long-range sensors show the Deep Explorer's energy signature is fading rapidly." The hologram showed a computer model of the trapped ship. A golden energy field surrounded it like a cage, slowly getting smaller. Red warning text indicated hull stress approaching critical levels. "The ship will be crushed within 18 hours, Korath concluded. A rescue mission would arrive too late. Murmurs of dismay filled the hall. Representatives began arguing about backup plans and emergency protocols. Some suggested sending long-range communication equipment to contact other ships in the area. Others wanted to dispatch unmanned probes to study the situation. Ambassador Thylex watched the hologram with growing despair. She had met Captain Zelos before. He was a brilliant scientist who studied ancient ruins to help the galaxy understand its past. His crew included young researchers just starting their careers. They did not deserve to die trapped in some ancient alien weapon. A junior aide approached Thylex's platform, moving carefully through the arguing delegates. The young Altarian's skin showed the nervous yellow color of someone bearing important news. She carried a datapad that glowed with urgent priority messages. "Ambassador," the aide whispered, leaning close to Thylex's ear. "I have been monitoring all military traffic in nearby sectors. There is something you should know." Thylex took the datapad and read quickly. Her expression changed from despair to something harder to identify. The pad showed fleet positions and movement orders from across local space. Most were routine patrols or training exercises, but one entry made her pause. "What is the status of local human forces?" Thylex asked her aide. The aide's skin flickered nervously. "The human Apex fleet is conducting war games in the Kepler sector. They are approximately 6 hours from the Void sector at maximum speed." Thylex looked at the data again. The human fleet was small compared to the massive battle groups other species maintained. Their ships used older technology, and their crews were young. Most council members barely considered them a real military force, but 6 hours was much better than 3 days. Thylex stepped forward and raised her voice above the arguing delegates. "There is another option," she announced. The hall quieted as all attention focused on her. Even Korath's mechanical systems stopped their constant humming. "The human Apex fleet is in the neighboring sector," Thylex said. "They could reach the Deep Explorer before the ship is destroyed." The reaction was immediate. Councilor Veshai's crystal body flashed bright red. "The humans? Their fleet is barely functional by our standards. They have never faced anything more dangerous than space pirates." Other delegates joined the protests. The humans were newcomers to galactic politics, having joined the council only 50 years ago. Their technology seemed primitive compared to species that had traveled the stars for thousands of years. Their military doctrine was unconventional, and their ships were smaller than most council vessels. Ambassador Thylex listened to the objections, then looked again at the hologram showing the dying research ship. Captain Zelos and his crew had maybe 16 hours left. "Send a message," she ordered her aide. "Give the humans all our data about the Void sector and the trapped ship. Let them decide if they want to try." The aide hesitated. "Ambassador, the other council members may not approve. 12 beings are going to die if we do nothing," Thylex said firmly. "The humans might fail, but at least they would try. Sometimes that is better than certain inaction." As her aide rushed away to prepare the transmission, Thylex stared at the hologram of the trapped research vessel. She had a feeling the next few hours would change how the galaxy viewed humanity forever. The Great Hall erupted into chaos as news of Ambassador Thylex's decision spread. Delegates shouted across the chamber while their translation devices struggled to keep up with dozens of languages being spoken at once. The peaceful morning session had become a heated debate about whether humanity was capable of saving anyone. Councilor Vexhai stood on his crystal platform, his body flashing angry red patterns that hurt to look at directly. His species communicated partly through color changes, and right now he was broadcasting pure outrage for everyone to see. "This is madness," Vexhai declared, his voice carrying clearly through the noise. "The humans have been in space for barely 200 years. They cannot even generate artificial gravity properly. Their ships still use rotating sections, like primitive space stations." Fleet Admiral Korath stepped forward, his mechanical parts clicking as he accessed the Council's military database. Information flowed through his computer brain faster than organic minds could process. Within seconds, he had pulled up detailed files on human military capabilities. "I have completed my analysis of human fleet strength," Korath announced. His artificial voice cut through the arguing like a blade. "The results are not encouraging for a rescue mission." The central hologram changed to show human ship designs. Their vessels looked crude compared to the sleek Council ships floating in nearby space. Where Council ships were smooth curves of advanced metal and energy, human ships looked like they had been built in a hurry from spare parts. "Their largest vessel is the UES Indomitable," Korath continued, highlighting the flagship. "It masses only 60,000 tons. Our standard cruisers are 3 times larger. Their armor is simple metal plating rather than energy-reactive shields. Their weapons are kinetic projectiles and basic energy beams." Delegate Sathan of the reptilian worlds hissed softly, her forked tongue tasting the air. "Their technology is decades behind ours," she observed. "How do they expect to survive in the void sector when our own advanced ships dare not enter?" The hologram shifted to show tactical comparisons. Human ships use fusion reactors, while Council vessels ran on antimatter. Human weapons had limited range compared to quantum torpedo systems. Most damaging of all, human ships lacked the gravitational manipulation technology that allowed Council vessels to navigate dangerous space. "The void sector requires precise gravitational control," Korath explained. "Ships must constantly adjust their position to avoid being pulled apart by competing gravity fields. Human vessels would be helpless against forces that bend space itself." Ambassador Thylix watched the technical display with growing concern. The numbers did not look good for humanity. Their ships seemed like toys compared to the massive war machines other species built. But something nagged at her memory. A detail from humanity's first contact with the Council decades ago. Council of X-High was not finished with his criticism. "Even if human ships could somehow reach the void sector," he said, his crystal body pulsing with dismissive colors, "they lack the tools to break an energy prison built by the Forerunners. That ancient technology is beyond anything currently existing in the galaxy." Other delegates nodded in agreement. The Forerunners had ruled the galaxy millions of years ago before vanishing completely. Their leftover technology was still far beyond what modern species could create or fully understand. Ancient Forerunner weapons had destroyed entire fleets in the past. "Perhaps we should focus on more realistic options," suggested Ambassador Kordek of the Mechanical Union. His robotic body showed no emotion, but his tone carried diplomatic concern. "Could we send long-range probes to study the trapped vessel? Maybe find a weakness in the energy field?" "Probes would take just as long to arrive," Admiral Korath replied. "And they lack the power necessary to affect Forerunner technology. The Deep Explorer will be destroyed before any probe could help." The hologram updated to show the research ship's current condition. The energy field around it had grown smaller in just the last hour. Computer projections showed hull collapse in less than 15 hours. Red warning symbols covered the display like blood drops. Delegate Thyra of the Singing World spoke up, a musical voice carrying sadness. "Could we not send a message of comfort to the trapped crew? Let them know we remember their sacrifice for science." Several delegates looked uncomfortable at the suggestion. It seemed like giving up before trying everything possible. But the technical evidence was clear. No Council fleet could reach the void sector in time, and human technology appeared completely inadequate for the task. Ambassador Thylix had been quiet during the debate, studying her personal datapad. The information her aide had gathered showed more details about the human fleet than just their ship specifications. She read through mission reports and tactical analyses that painted a different picture than simple technology comparisons. "Honorable colleagues," Thylix said, standing up slowly. The hall gradually quieted as delegates realized she was preparing to speak. I have been reviewing human military history. Their technology may be limited, but their tactical record is interesting. She activated her personal holographic display, showing recent human missions. 3 months ago, human forces rescued a Centauri mining station from raiders using ships half the size of the attackers. Last year, they stopped a pirate fleet by using asteroids as improvised weapons. 6 years ago, they prevented a space station collision by manually flying their ships in impossible formations. Counselor Vexhi's crystal body flashed dismissive colors. Clever tactics cannot overcome physical limitations. The void sector is not a problem that can be solved with creativity. It requires superior technology and overwhelming force. Does it? Thylex asked quietly. The Forerunners who built those defenses were not necessarily more powerful than us. They were simply different. Perhaps they thought differently about problems and solutions. Admiral Kareth processed this suggestion through his computer brain. You believe human unconventional thinking might find solutions we have overlooked. I believe desperate situations require desperate measures, Thylex replied. And humans seem to specialize in desperate measures. The debate continued for another hour, but the arguments became circular. Those who opposed human involvement cited technological limitations and lack of experience with Forerunner technology. Those who supported the idea pointed to humanity's record of achieving impossible results through unconventional methods. Finally, Ambassador Thylex called for a formal vote. The question before the Council is simple, she announced. Do we send our complete tactical data to the human fleet and ask if they wish to attempt a rescue? Or do we accept that the Deep Explorer cannot be saved? The voting process took 15 minutes as each species consulted their homeworld governments. When the results appeared on the central display, the decision was close but clear. Send the data to humanity and let them choose. Thylex's aide had been monitoring communications during the debate. She approached the ambassador's platform with another urgent message. Ambassador, the aide whispered, I have received a preliminary response from the human fleet. Admiral Sarah Chun acknowledges receiving our distress signal. She's requesting all available tactical data about the Void Sector and Forerunner technology. Has she indicated whether humanity will attempt the rescue? Thylex asked. The aide's skin flickered with uncertainty. Her message was very short, Ambassador. She said they are reviewing the situation and will respond within 1 hour. Thylex nodded and looked again at the hologram showing the trapped research vessel. The energy field continued shrinking slowly but steadily. Captain Zealous and his crew had maybe 14 hours left. In 1 hour, the galaxy would learn whether humanity was brave enough to attempt the impossible. Thylex found herself hoping they were foolish enough to try. Around the Great Hall, delegates settled in to wait for humanity's answer. Some checked their personal devices. Others spoke quietly with their assistants. A few stared at the hologram of the dying ship, perhaps wondering if they would do the same thing in humanity's position. The Council had done all it could. The rest was up to a species barely older than yesterday, flying ships held together with determination and hope. Admiral Sarah Chun stood in the command center of the U.S. Indomitable, staring at the holographic display that showed the most dangerous region of local space. The void sector stretched before her like a cosmic nightmare, filled with gravity wells that could tear ships apart and energy fields that defied scientific explanation. The command center buzzed with quiet activity as her officers worked at their stations. Blue lights from computer displays cast shadows across their faces as they analyzed the data the Galactic Council had sent them. The information was detailed and terrifying, a complete breakdown of why rescuing the trapped research vessel was impossible. Admiral called Commander Torres from the navigation station, his voice tight with concentration. We have finished processing the Council's tactical data. The results are not good. Chun walked over to Torres's station, her magnetic boots clicking against the metal deck. The gravity generators on human ships were simple rotating sections, not the advanced artificial gravity other species used. Everything about human technology seemed primitive compared to the rest of the galaxy. "Show me what we are facing," Chun said. The holographic display zoomed in on the void sector. Red danger zones covered almost every possible flight path. Gravitational shears that could stretch a ship like taffy marked the safest routes. Energy storms that had destroyed probe ships wandered randomly through the region. "The gravitational fields shift every few minutes," Torres explained, highlighting the worst areas. "Our computers cannot predict where they will move next. Any ship trying to navigate through them would be flying blind most of the time." Lieutenant Kim looked up from her sensor station, pushing brown hair out of her eyes. "Admiral, I have been studying the energy readings from the trapped vessel. The field holding them is getting stronger every hour. Hull stress is approaching critical levels." Chun nodded and walked to the central command platform. Around her, the best officers in the human fleet worked to understand a problem that the galaxy's most advanced civilizations had declared unsolvable. Their equipment was older and their ships were smaller, but their determination was absolute. "What about our shields?" Chun asked Chief Engineer Reeves. Reeves looked up from his engineering station, grease stains on his uniform showing he had been working on something technical. "Our deflector shields can handle normal space debris and energy weapons, Admiral. But the readings from the void sector show forces we have never encountered before. We might last minutes instead of seconds, but that is not much improvement. And our weapons?" Chun continued. "Useless against Forerunner technology," replied Tactical Officer Park. "Our railguns and plasma cannons are designed to fight other ships, not ancient energy fields that bend the laws of physics. We would be like cavemen throwing rocks at a nuclear reactor." Chun absorbed this information without showing emotion. Her crew was giving her the same assessment the Council had reached. This mission was suicide with no chance of success. Any rational military commander would decline the mission and suggest alternative approaches. She looked around at her officers, noting their expressions. They were scared but not defeated. Fear was natural when facing the unknown, but defeat was a choice. Chun had served with most of these people for years, fighting pirates and mediating disputes between colony worlds. They had never faced anything like this before. "Bridge to all ships," Chun announced, activating the fleet communication system. "All senior officers report to the Indomitable for immediate tactical planning session. This is not a drill." Within 30 minutes, the command center was crowded with captains and senior officers from across the Apex fleet. Captain Rodriguez of the UES Defiant stood near the holographic display, studying the void sector data. Captain Singh of the UES Relentless was reading through Forerunner technology reports. Captain O'Brien of the UES Unstoppable was quietly discussing shield modifications with his chief engineer. Chun called the meeting to order and activated the central display. The trapped research vessel appeared as a small blip surrounded by hostile space that stretched for light years in every direction. "Everyone has seen the tactical data," Chun began. "The Galactic Council has concluded that rescue is impossible. Their most advanced fleets cannot reach the trapped vessel in time. Their superior technology cannot break through Forerunner defenses." She paused, looking at each captain in turn. "The question before us is simple. Do we attempt a rescue mission that the galaxy's best military minds say cannot succeed?" Captain Rodriguez spoke first, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "Admiral, my crew volunteered for the Apex fleet to help people in trouble. That has not changed just because the trouble is bigger than usual. The Relentless is ready for whatever you order," Captain Singh added. "Our shields might not be as advanced as Council technology, but they have never failed us when people needed help." Captain O'Brien nodded agreement. My engineers have been running calculations since we received the distress signal. We think we might be able to modify our deflector arrays to handle some of the gravitational stress. Chun felt pride in her officers, but she needed them to understand the full scope of what they were considering. This is not like fighting pirates or rescuing miners from damaged stations. The void sector has destroyed ships much larger and more advanced than ours. We might not survive long enough to even reach the trapped vessel. Admiral, Lieutenant Kim interrupted from her station. We are receiving a message from the research vessel. Captain Zelos is still alive. The hologram flickered and showed the interior of the alien ship. Emergency lights cast red shadows across damaged equipment. Captain Zelos appeared on screen, his blue scales now pale with exhaustion and fear. To anyone receiving this transmission, Zelos said, his voice weak but determined. Our hull is beginning to buckle. The energy field is crushing us slowly. If you are considering a rescue attempt, please do not risk your own lives. We knew the dangers when we entered this region. The transmission cut off, leaving the human officers staring at empty space where the alien captain had been. The command center was silent for a long moment. Then, Captain Rodriguez spoke quietly. He is telling us not to come because he does not want us to die trying to save him. That settles it, Chine said firmly. No one gets left behind on our watch. Not pirates, not miners, and certainly not scientists trying to expand galactic knowledge. She activated the ship-wide communication system, broadcasting to every human vessel in the fleet. All hands, this is Admiral Chun. We have received a distress signal from civilians trapped in hostile territory. The Galactic Council has analyzed the situation and concluded that rescue is impossible using conventional methods. Chun looked around at her officers, seeing determination replace doubt on their faces. Fortunately, we have never been particularly conventional. The human fleet has built its reputation by succeeding when others said success was impossible. The response was immediate. Throughout the fleet, crew members began preparing for the most dangerous mission they had ever attempted. Engineers started modifying equipment they had never tested in combat. Navigators plotted courses through space that no human ship had ever traveled. Medical teams prepared for casualties from forces they did not understand. All ships report ready for immediate departure, came the response. From the fleet communications officer, Chun nodded and looked one last time at the holographic display showing the void sector. Somewhere in that cosmic hell, 12 beings from different worlds were waiting for someone brave enough to help them. The galaxy's most advanced civilizations had declared the task impossible. Set course for the void sector, Chun ordered. Maximum speed. Time is running out. The Apex fleet turned toward the most dangerous region of local space, carrying humanity's reputation for refusing to accept defeat. Behind them, they left the safety of known space. Ahead of them lay the unknown, the impossible, and 12 lives hanging in the balance. Within hours, the galaxy would learn whether human stubbornness was stronger than Forerunner technology. The Galactic Council's emergency session continued as they watched long-range sensors track humanity's Apex fleet approaching the void sector. Ambassador Thylex stood at the central platform, her forearms folded as she studied the tactical display. Around the Great Hall, delegates from dozens of worlds waited to see if the humans would succeed or become another casualty statistic. They are entering the outer boundary now, reported Fleet Admiral Korath, his mechanical components processing sensor data faster than organic minds could follow. Initial readings show the human ships are maintaining formation despite gravitational interference. The holographic display showed 5 human vessels moving steadily toward the danger zone. They looked impossibly small compared to the massive forces surrounding them. Space itself was twisted in the void sector. creating gravity wells that appeared and vanished without warning. Council of HFY watched from his crystal platform, his body flickering between colors that showed concern and fascination. "They are using a standard approach formation," he observed, "maintaining close spacing for mutual protection. It is exactly what our tactical manuals would recommend, and exactly what will get them killed," Admiral Korath added without emotion. "Tight formations are death traps in shifting gravitational fields. When one ship gets caught, the others will be pulled in with it." The sensor display suddenly changed as the human fleet reached the first major gravity well. The ship should have been torn apart by competing gravitational forces, pulled in different directions until their hulls cracked. Instead, something unexpected happened. "They are separating," breathed Ambassador Thylex, leaning closer to the display. "Breaking formation completely." The 5 human ships spread out across several thousand kilometers, each taking a different path through the gravitational maze. What had been a neat military formation became a scattered collection of vessels moving independently through space that should have destroyed them all. "This makes no sense," Counselor HFY said, his crystal body flashing confused patterns. "They are abandoning all coordination. How can they hope to mount an effective rescue without working together?" Admiral Korath's mechanical brain worked overtime trying to understand the human tactical approach. "They appear to be using micro-jumps," he said slowly, disbelief coloring his artificial voice. "Jumping distances of only a few kilometers at a time." The display zoomed in to show the human flagship Indomitable making a series of impossibly precise movements. Instead of flying directly through space, the ship was making tiny, faster-than-light jumps, appearing and disappearing like a stone skipping across water. "Those jumps require exact calculations," Admiral Korath continued. "The gravitational fields in the void sector shift every few seconds. Computing safe jump coordinates should take several minutes each time. They are making new jumps every 30 seconds. Ambassador Thylex studied the sensor readings more carefully. Each human ship was following a different path, but they were all moving steadily toward the trapped research vessel. Their routes made no sense according to standard navigation principles, yet somehow they were avoiding the worst gravitational traps. "They are not calculating safe paths," she realized suddenly. "They are reacting to conditions in real time." "Impossible," HFY protested. "No organic mind can process gravitational data that quickly. Even our most advanced computer systems need time to verify safe coordinates." "Unless they are not trying to be safe," Thylex said quietly. "What if they are gambling on each jump, accepting risk instead of avoiding it?" On the display, the human ship Defiant appeared dangerously close to a massive gravity well that had formed without warning. Any rational captain would retreat to a safe distance and recalculate their approach. Instead, the human ship used the gravity well's pull to slingshot deeper into the void sector, gaining speed while barely avoiding destruction. "They are using the gravitational fields as stepping stones," Admiral Korath observed, his mechanical voice showing the first emotion anyone had heard from him. "Treating the most dangerous forces in local space like tools to be manipulated." Another human ship, the Relentless, encountered a space-time fracture that should have torn it apart at the molecular level. Instead of avoiding the fracture, the ship synchronized its shields to the distortion's frequency and passed through like it was an open door. Delegate Sathan of the reptilian worlds hissed softly in amazement. "They are not fighting the void sector," she said. "They are dancing with it." The human fleet continued their impossible journey, each ship finding its own way through the cosmic maze. Where council vessels would have used overwhelming force to punch through obstacles, the humans were slipping between dangers like water flowing around rocks. Their approach was unconventional, risky, and completely effective. The Admiral called a junior technician monitoring the trapped research vessel. The Deep Explorer is showing critical hull stress. They have less than 2 hours before complete structural collapse. The human flagship Indomitable was now less than 1 hour away from the trapped vessel, but the final approach looked impossible. The research ship was surrounded by the densest concentration of Forerunner defenses in the entire sector. Ancient energy fields overlapped in patterns that had destroyed everything that tried to approach for millions of years. "They will never break through those defenses," Vexai said with certainty. "Forerunner technology is beyond our understanding. The energy fields around that ship could vaporize our largest battle cruisers." Admiral Chun's voice crackled through the long-range communication system as her ship reached the edge of the defense perimeter. "Council vessels, this is Admiral Chun of the U.S. Indomitable. We have visual contact with the trapped vessel. Beginning final rescue approach." The sensor display showed the human flagship moving slowly toward the research ship, surrounded by energy fields that pulsed with deadly power. Any contact with those fields should have meant instant destruction, but the Indomitable continued forward. "What are they doing?" demanded Counselor Vexai. Admiral Karth studied the energy readings streaming from the human ship. "They are matching the frequency of the Forerunner defense grid," he said with wonder. "Instead of trying to break through the energy field, they are synchronizing with it." The process took almost an hour of careful adjustment. The Indomitable moved in tiny increments, constantly adjusting its shields and power output to match the ancient defensive system. It was like tuning a musical instrument while flying through a thunderstorm, requiring perfect precision under impossible conditions. Finally, the human ship slipped inside the defense perimeter without triggering the automated weapons. The Deep Explorer was now close enough to see through visual sensors. A small, damaged vessel slowly being crushed by forces its builders never imagined. "This is Admiral Chun to Captain Zelos," came the transmission. "We are in position to begin evacuation procedures. Prepare your crew for emergency transport." Captain Zelos appeared on the communication screen, his blue scales now pale with exhaustion but his eyes bright with hope. "Admiral Chun, how did you get through the defenses?" "Our sensors showed energy levels that could destroy a moon." "We asked politely," Chun replied with what sounded like a human smile. "Now, let's get your people out of there before this ancient security system changes its mind." The rescue operation took 2 more hours as human transport shuttles carefully moved the research crew from their dying ship to the safety of the Indomitable. Each trip through the defense perimeter required the same delicate frequency matching that had allowed the flagship to enter DOT as the last researcher was evacuated. The energy field around the Deep Explorer suddenly intensified. The research vessel was crushed flat in seconds, compressed into a ball of twisted metal and exotic matter. If the rescue had taken even minutes longer, 12 beings would have died. "All crew members safely evacuated," Admiral Chun reported. Beginning withdrawal from the Void Sector. The Galactic Council watched in stunned silence as the human fleet began their journey home, carrying rescued researchers from 12 different worlds. They had accomplished in hours what the galaxy's most advanced civilizations had declared impossible. Ambassador Thylex looked around the Great Hall, seeing the same expression on every delegate's face. Today, they had witnessed something that challenged everything they thought. They knew about military capabilities and technological limitations. The humans had succeeded, not through superior firepower or advanced technology, but through sheer audacity and an absolute refusal to accept that anything was truly impossible when lives were at stake. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council remained completely silent as the human Apex fleet disappeared from their long-range sensors, carrying 12 rescued beings safely home. For the first time in decades, the chamber full of the galaxy's most powerful representatives had nothing to say. Ambassador Thylex stood at the central platform, watching the tactical display that still showed the void sector. The ancient Forerunner defenses had returned to their dormant state, waiting for the next unfortunate ship to trigger their deadly protocols. But now everyone knew those defenses could be overcome by beings clever enough to think differently about impossible problems. Captain Zelos appeared on the communication screen, his blue scales bright with health and gratitude. Behind him, the rescued research crew from 12 different worlds waved at the council session. They were alive because a species most delegates had considered barely competent had refused to accept defeat. "Honored council members," Captain Zelos said, his voice strong despite his recent ordeal. "I wanted to thank you personally for arranging our rescue. The human crews risked their lives to save complete strangers. They asked for nothing in return except the chance to help." Fleet Admiral Korath stepped forward, his mechanical components humming softly as he processed what they had witnessed. "Captain Zelos, can you describe how the human rescue operation differed from standard council procedures?" Zelos thought for a moment before answering. "They did not try to fight the dangers we faced," he said carefully. "Where we saw obstacles to be overcome, they saw puzzles to be solved. Instead of using force against the Forerunner defenses, they found a way to work with the ancient systems." "And their tactical approach in the void sector?" Admiral Korath continued. "Unlike anything in our military training," Zelos admitted. "They treated the gravitational fields like dance partners instead of enemies. Each ship found its own path through the dangers, adapting instantly to changing conditions. It was beautiful to watch, even from inside our dying vessel." Counselor Vexhai had been silent since the rescue ended, his crystal body cycling through colors that showed deep thought. Finally, he spoke. "Admiral Chun, are you still monitoring this transmission?" Admiral Chun's voice responded immediately. "Yes, Counselor. The Apex fleet is returning to our patrol sector. All rescue personnel are in good health and will be delivered to Council medical facilities for examination." "Admiral," Vexhai said slowly, "I owe you an apology. I stated that your fleet was inadequate for this mission. I was wrong about your capabilities." Chun's response carried what sounded like amusement. "Counselor, you were not wrong about our technological limitations. Our ships are smaller, our weapons are weaker, and our defenses are simpler than Council standards. But sometimes the best solution is not the most obvious one." Ambassador Thylex activated her personal communication system. "Admiral Chun, if I may ask, how did you know your unconventional approach would work in the void sector?" There was a pause before Chun answered. "Honestly, Ambassador, we did not know it would work. We knew conventional approaches had failed, so we tried something different. Human military doctrine teaches that when facing impossible odds, change the rules of engagement." "And if your unconventional approach had failed?" asked Admiral Korath. "Then we would have tried something else," Chun replied simply. "Failure is only final when you stop looking for alternatives. As long as people needed help, we would have kept trying until we found a solution or ran out of options." The simplicity of her answer struck the council delegates like a physical blow. Here was a species that approached impossible problems with determination instead of careful analysis. They did not calculate odds of success. They calculated methods of success. Delegate Sathan of the reptilian worlds spoke up, her voice thoughtful. "Admiral, does your species often attempt missions that your technology cannot support?" "Our technology can support anything our imagination can conceive," Chun answered. "We have learned that limitations exist mostly in how we think about problems. Better equipment is helpful, but creative thinking is essential." Ambassador Thylex looked around the Great Hall, noting how the rescue had affected her fellow delegates. Species that had dismissed humanity as technologically primitive were now listening to human tactical philosophy with serious attention. The successful rescue had forced everyone to reconsider their assumptions about military effectiveness. "Honored colleagues," Thylax announced, "I believe we have witnessed something important today. The rescue of the Deep Explorer was accomplished not through superior technology, but through superior adaptability." Counselor Ventai's crystal body flickered through several colors before settling on deep blue, the shade his species used to show respect. "The humans succeeded where we would have failed," he admitted. "Their ships were smaller and their weapons were weaker, but their approach was more effective than anything we would have attempted. They do not see problems the same way we do," observed Admiral Korath. "Or we calculate statistical probabilities of mission success. They focus on finding any possible method of achieving their goals. It is a fundamentally different approach to tactical planning." The implications of this revelation spread through the chamber like ripples in water. If humanity could solve problems that advanced technology could not handle, what other impossible situations might they be able to address? How many crises had the Council abandoned as unsolvable when creative thinking might have found answers? Ambassador Thylax made a decision that would reshape galactic politics for generations to come. "I am submitting a formal proposal," she announced. "The Galactic Council should establish a new emergency response protocol. When conventional solutions prove inadequate, we should request human consultation on alternative approaches." The proposal caused immediate debate among the delegates. Some argued that humanity's methods were too dangerous and unpredictable for regular use. Others pointed out that conventional methods had left the research crew to die, while human unconventional thinking had saved them all. The debate continued for hours, but the final vote was overwhelming. The galaxy's most advanced civilizations formally acknowledged that sometimes the best solutions came from the species with the simplest technology but the most flexible thinking. Captain Rodriguez of the UES Defiant sent a message to the Council as the human fleet continued their journey home. "Distinguished delegates, on behalf of all human crews involved in today's rescue, I want you to know we were honored to help. The crew of the Deep Explorer included scientists studying ancient ruins to expand galactic knowledge. Protecting beings who work to benefit everyone is not just our duty, it is our privilege." As the council session ended and delegates began returning to their homeworlds, news of the rescue spread through galactic communication networks. The story grew in the telling, but the basic facts remained unchanged. Humanity had accomplished the impossible through determination, creativity, and absolute refusal to abandon people in need. Within days, requests began arriving from across the galaxy. Colony worlds facing natural disasters wanted human engineering consultants. Mining operations trapped by equipment failures asked for human rescue specialists. Even military academies requested human instructors to teach unconventional tactical thinking to their students. Ambassador Thylax received a personal message from Admiral Chun before the human fleet reached their home base. "Ambassador, thank you for giving us the chance to help. The crew of the Deep Explorer reminded us why we joined the military in the first place. Not to fight wars, but to protect people who cannot protect themselves." Thylax replied immediately. "Admiral, your fleet has given the galaxy something more valuable than advanced technology. You have shown us that impossible is just another word for untried. That lesson will benefit civilizations for generations to come." The rescue of the Deep Explorer became more than just a successful mission. It became the moment when the galaxy learned that humanity's greatest strength was not their weapons or their ships, but their absolute conviction that any problem could be solved if you were willing to think differently about solutions. From that day forward, when the galaxy faced impossible situations, they knew exactly who to call. Not the species with the biggest guns or the most advanced technology, but the young race that had never learned the meaning of the word impossible and refused to start learning it now. The age of human influence in galactic affairs had begun not with conquest or diplomacy, but with 12 researchers from different worlds who lived because someone cared enough to try when everyone else had given up hope.